Good morning, team. How y'all doing? So, it is super hot in here. We had to turn off the fan so we can hear. Many of you were here when we did that. So just do what you need to feel comfortable. I'm warning you this time, might not make it through the whole service. Because heat rises, and Steve and I are going to be really gross by the end of the service. So there's just a few quick things I want to point out, sort of rapid fire, and then if I miss anything and there are any announcements, we'll do other people's announcements afterwards. This is our first day back. This is Kickoff Sunday. First thing, of course, is that for those of you who have attended church for a while, you know that that means next Sunday is In-Gathering Sunday. About a decade ago, we realized that we really needed 2 Sundays to get going. So this is the first of 2 first Sundays. It's the miracle of church, you can do that. So this Sunday is Kickoff Sunday. It's just like a regular service. Next Sunday is In-Gathering. And at In-Gathering, people bring water from some place they visited over the summer, and then we share where that place is. If you didn't bring water or collect water over the summer, you get it from the church tap, and you just tell us where you wish you got the water from. It's slick. We've never lost anyone, and maybe not right now. If those of you who are newer, you can ask almost anyone in the church about my son Amen and what he brought to the community. So anyway, so that's one. So just remember your water next week. In your orders of service, you will see that there is a brochure, a trifold brochure. Partly we're using this to hand out to people, come to visit, just give some short, brief information about the church. However, everyone should have one because it has the calendar for the fall. Really up through, I think, I haven't looked at it in 10 minutes, so I don't remember, December, I think. It has themes. This year we will have worship themes roughly by month, and you'll see the theme, service of the 10, and then you'll see some key events that are going on, which will include things that we've done in the past, like Open Door, other service projects, but it will also include some new things, like the Sabbath Walks program, where we're going to take short walks. They'll involve silence and reading. We have one of those coming up soon, just to sort of worship in a different context in a different location. We also have our role-playing game group, which is feeling ambitious this year, so we have multiple dates for that. If you are interested in participating in any of those, we have a sign-up sheet on a bulletin board that's on a tripod. Sorry, it's hot. I'm going to forget a lot of words. A tripod, which is currently in the foyer. If you are interested in participating, please write your name down. This is really key for the gamers because there's a limited number of seats. If you want to do the walks, it's just so we can give you information and kind of get a sense of how many people we're dealing with. You can talk to me about any of those things. You can also talk to Todd and Annie about the walks. Margaret, I'm going to put you on the spot as the other person you can talk to about the game groups. Just refer to me, sorry. But, if people have questions, what kind of question, you can ask around. And we'll get to that. Coffee hour is going to be a little different this year. As usual, we will be starting outdoors as long as we can, which as we know could be 2 weeks or 6. And then when we come in, we're going to move back to the parlor. So just be mindful of that. What else do I have that I'm just whipping through? Oh, just with the hymns. We have a few new folks. I usually do the stand-up, the rise thing, like 4 measures in or so, the first phrase of the hymn when Steve is playing it. So don't stress out if people aren't standing up when the hymn starts, because we actually wait a little bit to kind of the middle, and then, or first third, and then we'll stand up and I'll say, please rise, and then I'll go, yay! We don't say that. Okay, that's it. Are there any other announcements? Yes, Todd. And all these events are in your brochure, and next week we'll have normal announcements. We just had the brochure this week. And we're though your church leadership has been backwards and on fire this week, so.
Backwards and on fire.
Yeah, so, you know, we're getting it done.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome, and great to see everybody. I just wanted to give a quick recap of the Natick Days, which was yesterday. And I don't know how, I saw a number of you folks over there. It's a really fun event. There were thousands of people there. I mean, you really get a sense of the vibrancy of the community here. And we had a good number of people come by and talk to us. It was interesting because we have a sign-up sheet for the various stuff that we're doing. And there were some people interested in Steve's concert. There were some people interested in our jack-o'-lantern competition. There were people interested in the calendar competition. And what? Pub theology was very popular. So it's, I mean, it was all spread across all the things that we're doing, and in the church in general, of course. And I found that encouraging, and so I just wanted to let you know. Thanks.
Thank you, Todd. And thanks to Todd and Jen and Rosemary and Elaine and Desmond and Lee for staffing the table yesterday. It was hotter than today and like chaos all over town. So, that was fun. Okay, that's it. I think we got, oh, no, Bill's got one.
As one of the losers, I would like to recognize that the regular season of the LA Church Fantasy Baseball League has ended. Adam is in first place. The other three finalists were Chris, Margaret, and Bob. So congratulations to them and good luck in the playoffs.
Thank you. That was very kind because Chris is about to kick my ass.
Yeah, we got another week.
We'll see. We'll see. It was not good. It's not good. So for those of you who are new, we have a fantasy baseball league. You are welcome to sign up next year. It's great fun. There's a lot of smack talk, and it's a good time. Okay, so to start the year, I thought we'd probably do this a couple times in the service, during the prayer and after the sermon as well. But let's just take a moment now in silence to collect ourselves and to think about our hopes and dreams for this new church year. Traditional, please turn in your gray hymnal to hymn number 1. may nothing evil cross this door. Please rise. Please remain standing for the recitation of our covenant. In the love of truth and in the spirit of Jesus, we unite for the worship of God and the service of all.
Speak to Me That I May Speak by W. Dow Edgerton. A morning in ordinary time. You arrive at the church, turn up the heat in the study. Then you wonder about the fuel bill. Turn it back a little and take the spare sweater out of the closet. The building is quiet. You open the Bible and begin reading the texts for the coming Sunday. Last week is finished, and preparation has to begin all over again. All over again from the beginning. The reading, the study, the musing, the reverie. The search through experience and memory, half looking for ideas, half trying to get rid of them. The search for that certain poem hidden somewhere on the shelf among the thousands of pages there is no time to read. All over again begins the search for words, images, connections, but also the search for something else. Compassion, spirit, soul, matterness. Through speech, our imagination takes its most explicit public shape. A different possibility must become speakable before it can become real to us, even if only as a hope. Aristotle concluded that poetry was superior to history. History was restricted to what has been, the actual. Poetry spoke of the possible, what might be. Through making audible a different possibility, a different future becomes thinkable. When a different future becomes thinkable, a present bondage becomes breakable. When bondage becomes breakable, there is pronounced upon it the judgment that it is not the boundary.
Reading is 1 Corinthians 13. I'm sure it's one of your favorites, as it is mine, and I particularly like this version. Even if I can speak all the tongues of the earth, and those of the angels too, but do not have love, I am just a noisy gong, a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy, such that I can comprehend all mysteries and all knowledge, or if I have faith great enough to move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give away everything I own to feed those poorer than I, then hand over my body to be burned, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not jealous. It does not put on airs, and it is not snobbish. It is never rude or self-seeking. It is not prone to anger, nor does it brood over its injuries. Love doesn't rejoice in what is wrong, but rejoices in the truth. There is no limit to love's forbearance, to its trust, its hope, its power to endure. There are in the end three things that last: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
So let's take another moment in silent prayer to pray for this church, for each other, and for ourselves. Now, as Jesus, well, blessed be. You'll note in the Lord's Prayer today, there's one change. It says God instead of our Father. Otherwise, the rest of it should be familiar to you as the one we normally do. That, of course, is trespasses. So now, as Jesus taught us, let us pray. God in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Now it is time for the offering, a free gift to a free church. Many gifts, and together build one church community. Please be seated. Just so you know, we are delighted to have the baby. Don't get stressed. So now we are moving on to the responsive reading, which is number 441 in your gray hymnal. To worship is to stand in awe under a heaven of stars, before a flower, a leaf in sunlight, or a grain of sand.
To worship is to be silent, to sit before a tree is stirred with the wind, or the passing shadow of a cloud.
To worship is to work with dedication and with skill. It is to pause from work and listen to a strain of music.
To worship is to sing with the singing beauty of lyric. It is to listen through a storm to the still small voice within.
Worship is a loneliness seeking communion. It is a thirsty land crying out for rain.
Worship is kindling fire within our hearts. It moves through deeds of kindness and through acts of love.
Worship is the mystery within us reaching out to the mystery beyond.
It is an inarticulate silence yearning to speak. It is the window of the moment that opens the sky of the eternal.
Okay, now let us sing in the great hymn, although I'm allowing me to speak with Bravest Fire, number 34. And let's listen closely to the words because they should sound fairly familiar to you, given our reading today. Feel like we're not quite, in mid-season form on kickoff Sunday. It's more like the second to last preseason game. So, so that's why, which is cool. We will invite you to coffee hour. Does it look like the rain is going to hold off, or do we know? Okay. So, let's start again with that reading from my old preaching professor, W. Dow Edgerton. All over again begins the search for words. All over again begins the search for words, images, connections. But also the search for something else. Compassion, spirit, soul, and matteredness. The search for something else. Compassion, spirit, soul, matteredness. So as you know, in announcements I said we were going backwards and on fire. What I meant was flat out. We've been flat out at the church for the last couple weeks. And some of you may not have noticed it, but others know how busy we have been getting ready for today. As you know, part of our tradition in this church is time away from formal worship. There are practical reasons for this. It is hot in here. You may have noticed. And many of you are somewhere else in the summer. One popular denominational joke tells us that during this season, God goes to the Cape. But there is actually a theological reason as well. Namely that in our tradition, since the God that is love, in the universalist formulation, since the God that is love, not the God who loves, but is in fact love itself, resides everywhere and not just in our really warm sanctuaries. we are expected, as part of our journey of faith, to explore, to see the divine in nature and in the people and places that we love. And that, if you go to seminary, is why we're closed in August. In any case, it has been a while for many of us to be here, and it seems reasonable at this time to examine what we usually say at our annual beginning, when we ramp up our congregational activity going from 0 to 60 over the course of a couple weeks, in a period when many of us are doing the same thing in our personal lives. What do we throw together for that first Sunday when time is of the essence? What do we talk about historically on Kickoff Sunday? So that was the question I was asking myself the last couple of weeks. So when I was preparing for today, I went back to old orders of service to see what we have talked about on this day in other years. Now I have to say, the farthest volition I could get without wasting a huge amount of time was 2012. 9 years into my ministry here with you, but a lifetime from then to now. It was fun to think about 2012, actually. We were younger, so were our kids. There were plenty of babies. And many of you had different jobs, different interests. Some of you weren't even members yet. So today, we are in some ways the same, with the same names and faces, some with the same committee appointments, and I'm sorry about that. But time and circumstance has indeed had its way with us. And we are not exactly the same as we were then. Because we continued from that time to this time, altering ourselves and our communities incrementally, just as we will continue to do in the future. Now, I couldn't actually find the sermon for Kickoff Sunday of 2012, but honestly that's a bit of a relief, because if I cannot remember it, neither can you, and there's a good chance that it wasn't memorable. But I did steal the readings and hymns from that day. Those are the readings and the hymns for today as well, because they give us a little hint into what we thought was important about church in that moment of rejoining. And it turns out it's pretty much the same. Once again, it is our first day back, and all over again begins the search for words and images, yes, and for compassion, spirit, soul, and matteredness. We have changed. We've changed over the years, and we've changed over the summer as people and as a community. But in some ways, in the deepest ways, we have not changed. It turns out that the core of the church is what it has always been. And that core is something that I have already mentioned, namely divine love, which we see in that reading from 1 Corinthians 13, perhaps the most frequently used part of the Bible in this congregation. In fact, I went back to 2012 to find it, but it turns out we read it a couple times since then, most recently on Kickoff Sunday in 2020, online in the midst of the pandemic. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I speak in the tongues of mortals and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. That wasn't the version we read today, but this is the one we remember, many of us. It's the one we had at our weddings. Or, if you prefer, If I may speak with bravest fire, from our hymn, if I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, but have not love, my words are vain as sounding brass and hopeless gain. The core of the church is eternal. Our speech and actions have no meaning without love, without the divine and transcendent love that surrounds us all. The love that must be spoken, lest it is forgotten or ignored. We need it in our hearts. We need it in our relationships. We need it in our institutions. We need to put that love out in the ether. And that is why, aside from all the personal reasons why, that is why we come to church. We need to love and be loved in community. We so often spend the rest of our lives. We so often spend the rest of our lives, not Sunday morning, the rest of it, in the midst of angry, unforgiving words, designed to sow division, to build personal power through the byproduct and sometimes the explicit product of hate. We see it in the news. We see it in the grocery store. We see it wherever two or more gather, and we see it in ourselves. So to come to a congregation like this, and we know that not all congregations are like this. We are well aware of the role organized religion has played in the spread of injustice. To come to a place like this is an act of resistance. It's an act of resistance in the face of this culture of separation. We do this because there are few institutions as well positioned to push back as progressive and open houses of worship. And also, there are few as able as the Elliott Church. There are few congregations as able as the Elliott Church. And we are able. We try our best to practice what we preach here, examining our own hearts while reaching out to others. We build relationships amongst ourselves and the people we meet in the world that are based on respect. Now, of course, I know that it doesn't always work. I'm aware, but we try. And when we fail, we try again, informed by our mistakes. You see, here at Elliott, we are used to being challenged. We are used to being challenged. We practice it, and so we find ourselves able to speak into different possibilities, as Dow Edgerton says. A different possibility, he says, must become speakable before it can become real to us, even if it only as a hope. Through making audible a different possibility, he says, a different future becomes thinkable. And when a different future becomes thinkable, a present bondage becomes breakable. When a different future becomes thinkable, a present bondage becomes breakable. Through our communal imagination here, we give voice to the new idea, the new possibility. And that is why we are able to act beyond our walls in our individual and collective pursuits, with our many service and advocacy projects, and of course, the garden right outdoors. It's actually why we try new programs too, built around that internal dimension of imagination, creativity, and conversation. Like Sabbath walks, where we journey together to see and experience this divine love in the natural world. And even those role-playing games, which I realize some of you think are quite flaky, because they speak into imagined worlds with their own problems and with heroes played by us who find a way to fix those problems. So we still come here after our month away, hopefully recharged to once again create a congregational season, both old and new. We have that brochure this year, and in it are things we always do, along with a number of brand new things to do, if you wish. We have the board in the back that I already mentioned, with fresh sign-up sheets waiting for your name and your email. All of them to help us build a context for words and images and connections, and to make them matter, to bring a bit of eternal truth to the truth of our lives. After all, our actions speak whenever and wherever we are, and our words and images, spoken or unspoken, carry our intent and make possible a particular, better reality. So let's take a moment in silence to consider our reality and how we would like to transform us. Let us, in these brief moments, imagine what we will become. Blessed be. Now please join in our final hymn in your red hymnal, what we haven't been using, Forward Through the Ages, number 383. Please rise. I don't know if there's one more verse. Go forth in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you will burst into song, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands.